Welcome, hello. Welcome to Perimenopause Symptoms, the full list that nobody's given you yet. Lots of questions about this. Oh my gosh, what is this symptom? Is this perimenopause? What's going on? My name's Tori Vallen. I'm a women's integrative nutrition and lifestyle coach. I'm also a functional weight loss specialist. And I talk about perimenopause and menopause a heck of a lot because it affects so many women. I'm coming to you live right now inside our amazing group, Radiant Health for Women 40 Plus. Sarah is here. Hello. So nice to see you. Please say hi if you are watching me. If it's your very first time here and you're new, then I'd love you to write in the comments. You can just say, I'm a new person, because I'd love to welcome you to my community officially. If you've been here before, if you watch lots of my live trainings, then drop me a little wavy hand and say hello, because it's really nice to see who's tuning in, and you can let me know where you're tuning in from. Jenny's here. So Jenny and Sarah are beautiful women who are doing Radiant Health Reset with me, which is my 6-month signature program. I love when my Radiant Health Reset women join in on these calls because they often tell their amazing stories of transformation. So you can see what's possible for you too. And Ruth is here as well. Ruth, so nice to see you. Ruth is also one of our Radiant Health Reset community members who's participated in my signature program. Beautiful. Well, by the way, if you're watching the replay, could you type #replay so that I know you saw this important live training? This is a good one. Before I begin, let me make a quick announcement. Some of you already know that I've opened up registrations for the free 5-day perimenopause challenge. We start on Monday, but you need to register right now if you want to join us, because we're sending out very important information in the next day or two. The free 5-day perimenopause challenge is a game changer. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later on. If you already know you want to be part of my challenge, maybe you've done a challenge with me before, maybe you just really want to learn about your body in a deeper way, type challenge now in big capital letters so I can make sure you get the registration link. All right? All right, but I will share a little bit more about that at the end so you know what it is. If you're like, well, how does the challenge work? What will be expected of me? We will cover all of that. And Rachel's here as well. Hi, Rachel. Rachel's a longtime beautiful follower of mine. We are good friends. Okay, today, this is a little bit different because I'm going to be handing you the full list of perimenopause symptoms, all the major ones that women struggle with. And I also want to talk about what's actually driving each one of them in your body. And of course, if you've been following me for a little while, you know that I'm all about root causes and fixing root causes so we don't have to live with uncomfortable symptoms. Every single one of these perimenopause symptoms that we're going to talk about today has a root driver that can be addressed. Most women who come to me report having more than one perimenopause symptom, usually a minimum of 3, anywhere up to about 10, 11, 12 perimenopause symptoms, sometimes more. And they're frustrated because when they try to get help, they're told, oh, well, that's just perimenopause, which is another way of saying there's really nothing you can do about it, which is not true. That's not true. And maybe they get a prescription for HRT. Maybe they don't want that. Maybe they try it and it doesn't work for them. They feel worse. Maybe they get handed a prescription for an antidepressant or maybe some sleep meds. But what they don't get is an explanation and a framework to start to feel well. So they walk away with no understanding of what's actually going on in their body and no idea what to do about it. So today that ends. By the end of this training, you're going to hear exactly about the symptoms that you've been carrying, and you'll know exactly what to do about them. And more importantly, you get to walk away with hope. Because if you haven't got hope, what do you got? You haven't got much. Every single thing we talk about has a root cause, and root causes can be addressed. So, perimenopause symptoms, the full list that nobody gave you before. Let's start with an important reframe before I take you through the full list. I want you to have this reframe because it's going to change how you hear everything that follows. Then the reframe is this. You were told that perimenopause causes symptoms in your body. Like your body reaches a certain point and then it all starts going haywire and your hormones are the problem. And this is just what happens when you age. Welcome to the next 10 years of your life. It's going to be shit. But here's what's actually happening. Perimenopause does not cause these symptoms. And I know for some of you want to reject that information. I had a woman on my Facebook profile this week who wrote, "You told me perimenopause doesn't cause these symptoms, but it does, and it's ruining my life. It's destroying my life." And I haven't had enough time to write back to her yet, but I will, and I'll talk to her in the DMs. What I'm saying is clinically true and backed by evidence. Perimenopause does not cause your symptoms because symptoms are the product of dysfunction. What perimenopause does is it lifts the veil on dysfunction that was already there. And that is an inconvenient truth for us because we'd like to just pin this all on perimenopause and say it's perimenopause's fault. When we see the truth, that actually perimenopause just reveals dysfunction that was already there, then it puts the onus back on us that we have to change. And not everyone wants to hear that. But I'm here for the women who are empowered enough to say, cool, well, I want to do something about it. So what's been happening is for years, for decades, your hormones have been acting like this really beautiful buffer. And there's two key players doing the buffering work, estrogen and progesterone. And both of them have been doing just enormous amounts of invisible work in the background. You didn't even know it. Saving you from feeling the discomfort of the effects of your lifestyle choices. And both of them start to lose their buffering capacity in perimenopause because our reproductive hormones are declining, and they're meant to. We're not supposed to be reproducing for the rest of our lives. We reach a stage where we're in a new stage now. We don't have babies anymore. We don't need an abundance of reproductive hormones. And therefore, we don't need this kind of effect where because we want our species to survive, reproductive hormones let us kind of get away with a whole lot of shit that was never good for us. Let me talk you through what estrogen and progesterone were protecting you from when you were in your highly reproductive years. So one of estrogen, let's talk about what estrogen was protecting you from. It was protecting you from brain inflammation. It was supporting your insulin sensitivity. Your blood sugar stayed pretty stable. Even if you ate a few of the wrong things, stayed pretty stable. Even if you were taking a little bit too much stress, stayed pretty stable. It kept your joints and your gut and your skin and your heart all running smoothly. It supported your serotonin and your dopamine for good mood. How nice. Got to be happy if you're going to make babies. Don't want to be sad and depressed. I know that happens sometimes too when things go too far. But largely, estrogen has been buffering you from the adverse effects of having low estrogen. It's been acting as a powerful anti-inflammatory across your whole body as well. And Jenny, so grateful I no longer have a period. Yeah, it's much more convenient, right? I'm happy for you. New stage of life. So estrogen's been helping you with all of those things. And then progesterone's been doing equally critical and important work because progesterone's been calming your nervous system and supporting your GABA levels. It's like the built-in chill switch. And progesterone's been supporting deep restorative sleep, and progesterone has been balancing out estrogen so that estrogen is not kind of running away unopposed by anything. Progesterone kind of anchors it down. Progesterone buffers your stress response. Progesterone supports mood stability and emotional resilience. So here's what matters about what I just explained about estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone declines first and rapidly for most women in perimenopause. It's not meant to do that. It's not meant to drop away suddenly, but it does because of our busy, hectic lifestyles. Progesterone drops away significantly before estrogen drops meaningfully. And it leaves us with a big gap. And it's why so many women in their late 30s, early 40s start feeling really pretty off long before they think that perimenopause should be on the table. Okay, these effects start earlier. And the women go, what? My GP said I'm too young for perimenopause. Right, but your reproductive hormones are dropping off, so that this transition has started, like it or not. You might be feeling anxiety creeping in, and sleep is not so great anymore like it used to be, and your PMS might be getting really intense, and periods could be getting very heavy, quite intermittent, and your patience might be running very thin. So your buffer is starting to calm down. In the years previous to that happening, your body had been managing things so well and really compensating for a lot of crap that was kind of simmering underneath, like low-grade inflammation and dysregulated blood sugar because of the glycemic load of your life, the glycemic instability of your life. Your stress response, which you had been pushing, you were getting away with it. Nutrient depletions, your body was compensating for that in your reproductive years. Liver congestion, gut dysfunction, your body was kind of compensating with ample reproductive hormones. Because guess what? A species would not survive unless it had a good buffer. It's to promote the survival of our species. We get all these extra sex hormones that buffer us from the effects of our lifestyle choices so that we can bring babies into the world and start to raise them. But then we don't need so many reproductive hormones anymore, and we lose the buffer. And that reveals the poor lifestyle choices and the effect that they're having on our body. So for years you didn't feel the effects. Lucky you, estrogen and progesterone were masking them. But perimenopause arrives and we start to feel the effects, and the hormones start to fluctuate and decline. The buffer has thinned out, and everything that was already there becomes visible. It's like, ta-da, all at once, and it feels like it just happens overnight. And this is why you could have two women of exactly the same age, same stage of life, but have completely different experiences. One could be breezing through perimenopause, and the other one could be having 15 symptoms and feeling like, fuck, my body is broken. This is it. It's all over. And the difference between them isn't luck. And it's not genetics either. The difference isn't just, oh, well, some women have it harder because her mum had an early perimenopause. It's not like that. The difference is actually in the underlying foundations, the underlying terrain. The difference is whatever was simmering underneath. When the buffer of reproductive hormones started to thin. How were they living their lives before this? What choices were they making before this? And this is empowering. Nobody talks about this part, because if every one of those symptoms has an underlying driver and a root cause, then addressing those drivers is going to directly change your symptoms and your experience of perimenopause. The terrain underneath is not fixed. The foundations are not fixed. You can change them. You can modulate them. You can make different choices. And your body responds powerfully when it gets the right inputs. So the food and the sleep and the stress regulation and the nutrient status and the gut health, those things aren't just fluffy things that, oh, maybe I'll do them one day. Yeah, maybe I'll have a look at how much coffee I drink one day. Oh, maybe I'll have a look at all these ultra-processed foods I drink one day. It's not fluff. These are exact and direct levers that control the severity of everything I'm about to talk to you about. Okay, so with that framing, I first want to talk about cluster number 1 of symptoms, which is brain and nervous system symptoms. Let's start here because this is the cluster that frightens women the most, and it's often where conventional medicine can be the most dismissive. The symptoms in this cluster are things like sleep disruption, trouble falling asleep or trouble staying asleep or waking consistently between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. If that's you, please let me know in the comments. Or sleep that doesn't refresh you no matter how long you stay in bed. Brain fog and memory symptoms are part of this cluster. Anxiety and irritability and mood changes. Suddenly getting anxiety that feels like it was completely out of nowhere. Or anxiety you've already had becoming dramatically worse. Headaches, migraines, especially ones that follow a hormonal pattern with your cycle. Heart palpitations, racing heart, skipped heartbeats, or that kind of pounding sensation that comes out of nowhere. So you might have been told that that's just stress and it's just your age and maybe you need an antidepressant, or you might have been told, oh, it could be early onset dementia. Women in their 40s are actually getting told this. You might have been asked, oh, have you tried meditation? Have you tried yoga? Maybe you should try drinking less coffee. But I want to talk about what's actually underlying it. And first, I want to talk about how estrogen is one of your brain's most supportive partners. Estrogen is supporting serotonin and dopamine and GABA, all the neurotransmitters that are directly involved with your mood and your focus and your levels of calm. Protecting your neurons that are firing in your brain from inflammation and helping to regulate your stress response and stabilize your blood sugar too, which your brain is very sensitive to. Now, as estrogen starts to fluctuate and decline, your brain is suddenly losing a massive amount of support, neurochemical support. So if there was any underlying blood sugar instability, hello women who fast, I'm intermittent fasting, it's going to help me lose weight. It's going to help me lose my tummy fat. No, it's not. If there is any underlying unstable blood sugars, stop fasting. Just stop. Or like calorie controlled eating, stop that too, or too much stress. If there is any stress axis dysregulation, if your cortisol rhythms are off, if there's any inflammation in the brain, which there will be if you've got a lot of stress and you're eating all the wrong things, you're not sleeping enough. If there are any nutrient depletions, haven't met a woman yet who didn't have nutrient depletions. Magnesium, B vitamins, omega-3s, zinc. All those issues are now going to surface and show up as brain and nervous system symptoms. Things like heart palpitations at night. Did I say magnesium? If I didn't, I meant to. Heart palpitations at night, waking through the night between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and not being able to get back to sleep. Classic sign that your cortisol is dysregulated and your overnight blood sugars are dysregulated, and that progesterone is now insufficient for you and your GABA support has dropped. Anxiety that feels relentless. Brain fog. Your vocabulary suddenly disappearing and leaving you feeling very embarrassed, or walking into rooms and not remembering where you are. So those are not signs of early dementia. These are the neurological cluster, the brain and the nervous system cluster of symptoms that show up. So let me empower you now. Your brain is one of the most responsive systems in your body. It repairs very, very fast. It responds beautifully to putting the right foundations in place. So if you stabilize your blood sugars and you regulate your cortisol rhythms and you replete the nutrients that needed repletion, support your nutrient levels, and if you eat an anti-inflammatory style, when we address these, brain symptoms shift faster than probably any other symptoms. Women get their sleep back very, very quickly. Just off the top of my head, Sam, who joined my program only a couple of weeks ago, one of the first things that happened, she was like, oh my gosh, I'm sleeping so well. Sam's postmenopausal. She hadn't been sleeping well. Boom, sleep came back within just 2 weeks of joining my program, less than 2 weeks. Very common thing that women report. Brain fog clears, anxiety goes down, palpitations settle, and women stop thinking that there's something wrong with their brain. I want you to let me know if you thought there was something wrong with your brain or desperately wrong with your nervous system and you thought you couldn't do anything about it. Can you please let me know in the comments right now? You can do a little brain if you can find it, or give me a thumbs up, or type brain. Type brain if you're recognizing yourself in some of those symptoms I talked about. All right. Takes a little while for comments to come through. So I'm going to keep going because the next cluster of symptoms I want to talk about is the metabolic and the energy symptoms. Okay. This is a cluster of symptoms that can create a lot of frustration. Weight, fatigue, thyroid, joint pain. And the reason why this cluster of symptoms creates so much frustration is that because the things that women think will work don't work for this. Women do everything they're told to do by their PT, by their GP, by all the other acronyms, their HC, their health coach. They do everything they're told to do, and their body doesn't cooperate. So I'm talking about things like unexplained weight gain, persistent fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to help. I'm talking about thyroid dysfunction, like suddenly feeling cold all the time, or hair loss, clumps of hair falling out, hair thinning, constipation, deep fatigue, all over weight gain. I'm also talking in this cluster about the joint pain and the stiffness and waking up in the morning feeling sore and stiff. Okay? So, on this little cluster of symptoms around the metabolism and the energy stuff, women are told you just need to eat in a calorie deficit and you just need to train more because your metabolism's a little bit slower now and your thyroid's fine because your TSH is in range. If you know me well, you'll know that I have a bugbear about this, about the fact that we don't do adequate thyroid testing. We don't talk to women about what their thyroid labs mean. And we're told that joint pain is age and you should just train a little bit harder. And, oh, have you thought about using peptides? I could offer you Mounjaro, Ozempic. There's a new one, retatrutide. Oh my God, holy heck. That one scares the crap out of me in terms of its effect on women's health long term. I'll talk about that one another day. So I want you guys to understand what's really happening with these, the metabolism and the energy symptoms. When estrogen declines, your sensitivity to estrogen, when estrogen declines, what I'm trying to say is your insulin sensitivity drops, and sometimes dramatically. So your body is now becoming insulin resistant. What a shock. Because I know you've been thinking insulin resistance. That's just something that people with type 2 diabetes need to worry about, right? That's not me. Yeah, it's you. It's every woman that comes to me for help with her weight loss. Insulin resistance is rife and it's underdiagnosed, and we're not looking at the right markers. We're not looking at the right labs when we run blood tests. The same amount of food that you're eating is now going to store as fat much more readily. The same meals you used to eat before, now they're going to cause a massive blood sugar spike. Any excess glucose that floats around your blood because you can't get the insulin into the cells. If you can't get insulin into your cells because they're resistant to insulin, then you can't get the glucose into your cells. And now you've got a big problem, glucose floating around in your bloodstream, and that's dangerous. So your body's going to store it away in a safe place, and around your middle is a safe place. And on top of that, women are also struggling with chronically elevated cortisol. And that also drives visceral fat storage, more belly fat. So we have multiple reasons why fat is going to get stored around the belly. So that stubborn belly fat is nothing to do with your willpower. And it's not because you ate too much, and it's not because you need to do more crunches. The belly fat is about insulin resistance. It's about chronically elevated cortisol. It's about hormonal signaling. And this is why calorie restriction Not only does it not work, it actively makes it worse. Eating less further dysregulates your cortisol and keeps it elevated when it shouldn't be. Eating less, calorie restriction, further slows down your thyroid. By the way, you can call it calorie restriction or you can call it intermittent fasting. I don't mind. You can call it juice fasting if you really want to. Call it whatever you like. It's the same deal. It further suppresses your metabolism. And this is how your body responds to restriction of food. It downregulates energy output. You lose no weight, you gain weight, and you feel terrible, and you've got no energy. So let me put the power back in your hands. All of the metabolic drivers I just talked about can be addressed. Insulin sensitivity can be restored, and it can be restored very quickly. And cortisol rhythms can be regulated. We can put the rhythms back in place. And thyroid function can be restored. And your mitochondria, it's your little energy centers in your cells, they can be supported to make better energy, and inflammation in your body can come down. When you address the foundations, I just saw a comment from Jenny. That's really interesting. I'm going to come to your comment in a sec, Jenny. So when you address the foundations, and when I talk about foundations, what I really mean is the choices that you make day in, day out. Your weight releases, your energy comes back, joints calm down, not because we're restricting calories and making you exercise more, but because we're doing physiological repair to the systems of your body. So the full list of perimenopause symptoms you're struggling with are a result of multi-system imbalances. And what we want to do is restore function. We want to repair. If you've been experiencing these metabolic symptoms, the weight gain, the poor energy, the persistent fatigue, maybe the joint pain and stiffness too, I want you to type energy in the comments so I know who falls under that cluster of symptoms. The belly weight, hard to shift weight, fatigue. So this is a comment from Jenny. I'll share this with you, those of you who can't see the comments. Since starting Radiant Health Reset, that's my 6-month signature program, Jenny writes, my blood sugar levels have gone from 5.5 to 4.7. How about that? And I want you to know this about Jenny. Jenny won't mind me sharing this. Jenny's a healthy woman. Jenny moves her body. Jenny eats well. But there are a few tweaks that Jenny needed to make. And she came to me for support with those things. And this is the thing about the Radiant Health Reset. A lot of women who come to the Radiant Health Reset, they know largely what to do, but they need the tweaks to modulate, to support the hormonal balance. And they need the support to execute the changes. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Jenny, by the way. That's really interesting for people to hear and read. And I would love to see fasting insulin would be really interesting as well. All right, let's talk about a third cluster of symptoms. I want to list now for you the hormonal and the structural symptoms. So the symptoms in this hormonal structural symptoms are your hot flashes, night sweats, really common, irregular periods with heavy bleeding, flooding, completely unpredictable, low libido, maybe vaginal dryness, vaginal discomfort having sex, maybe hair thinning. In this cluster of symptoms too, skin changes. And the digestive symptoms fall into this cluster too, bloating and digestive symptoms. So these symptoms too, women get told, oh, welcome to perimenopause. This is welcome to menopause. That's just what happens. You're just going to have to grin and bear it and get through it. Or take HRT. It's life-changing. It will fix everything. I'm not anti-HRT, by the way. If you want to learn more about my opinions on HRT, then come join the Perimenopause Challenge that starts on Monday. But what I will tell you briefly now, which I will dive into so much more detail during the 5-day free Perimenopause Challenge. Hot flushes are hypothalamic thermoregulatory dysfunction. Dysfunction in our ability to regulate our temperature. And it's driven by estrogen fluctuation. Not declining estrogen, but fluctuating estrogen. And the big amplifier of that is unstable blood sugars and HPATG, or you can call it stress axis dysfunction. This is why women who have stable metabolic foundations don't really experience hot flushes. This is why when women join the Radiant Health Reset, their hot flushes quickly become a thing of the past. And that's not a coincidence. It's because we make changes that the physiology responds to very quickly. We no longer have those crazy estrogen fluctuations anymore. So the heavy and irregular periods, this is due to progesterone dropping off, boom, declining first in perimenopause and leaving us with unopposed estrogen. It can drop off years before estrogen. It's not supposed to happen that way. It happens as a result of the lives we've been living. But when that happens, progesterone ought to be much higher than estrogen. But in perimenopause, when it drops off before estrogen does, and it leaves us with this unopposed, relatively dominant situation of estrogen, it drives endometrial proliferation, heavier bleeding, thickened uterine lining, unpredictable bleeding. And if on top of that, your body's struggling to clear estrogen pathways because gut health or liver health is struggling, or maybe your body isn't methylating well, then yeah, you're going to really struggle with those types of symptoms. The symptoms get amplified significantly, and it's awful for women. So just moving on now to low libido, which is, it's rarely just libido on its own. That's declining testosterone and estrogen. That's also chronically elevated cortisol suppressing production of reproductive hormones. And you get fatigue layered on top. And then some women have got vaginal discomfort layered on top as well. All of those drivers are addressable. Vaginal dryness is one of the more directly estrogen-driven symptoms, but it still responds well to foundational lifestyle changes. You don't have to resort to topical interventions, or you could do topical interventions and you could combine them with lifestyle changes to get the best results. Hair thinning, I want to talk about. There are multiple drivers to the hair thinning stuff. It's a little bit to do with the shifting of our androgens. It's a little bit to do with the dysfunction in thyroid, slow, sluggish thyroid emerging through perimenopause too. It's a little bit to do with nutrient stores, ferritin, other nutrient deficiencies, omega-3 and B vitamins and zinc. And it's a little bit to do with inflammation on the scalp and the oxidative stress that happens in that barrier. Which brings me to skin, another beautiful barrier on our body. And the quality of your skin is a reflection of what's going on inside. Great skin is built from the inside out. Now, when our buffers drop away, the buffers that were protecting us from inflammation, it's going to show. And liver and gut health are particularly under load in perimenopause too, because they lost their buffers as well. And liver and gut health affect the skin's integrity and appearance more than any serum will. You can spend thousands on skincare if you like. It's never going to have the effect that you want. Topical applications have limits. They're not affecting how the cells are built. So internal changes to your lifestyle choices is where the real shift happens with skin health. Quickly, I want to talk about the bloating and digestive symptoms that we experience, because estrogen and progesterone, when we had plenty of that on board, they were both really influencing our motility, our ability to have easy bowel movements, and they were also affecting the composition of the microbiome in the gut. And when they start to drop and estrogen fluctuates, it destabilizes our gut function. And that can reveal pre-existing gut imbalances that were already there. You were just getting away with them, just like everything else. But none of these symptoms are inevitable, and none of them are permanent, and none of them have to be accepted as this is just getting older and this is just perimenopause. Every single one that I've talked about so far has addressable drivers: blood sugar, stress axis, gut health, liver health, inflammation, and nutrient status, to name the main ones. When we address the foundations, all of the symptoms shift and go away, often dramatically. Do you know how often women come to me saying, perimenopause is kicking my ass? And then a couple of weeks in, they go, every single symptom went away. Every single symptom went away, including the excess weight. Are you guys starting to see a pattern here with what I'm talking about? Does this sound empowering to you? You can modulate the inputs to get a different life experience, to get a different experience of perimenopause. So I hope I've helped you see now that perimenopause symptoms fall into a cluster. They kind of belong to a group, and that group of symptoms share drivers, share root causes. And if you address the root causes of that symptom cluster, bing, 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 you address all of the symptoms in that cluster. So I'm going to wrap up, but what I want you to walk away with today is the understanding that your symptoms are not a list of things that are just happening to you and this is awful and unfair and I just wish it would end. Your symptom list is a list of places where your body's asking for support. Every single symptom I talked about today has a root driver, every single one. And perimenopause didn't create the problem. It just revealed it. And that's a good thing, because what we see, we can address. And when you work on the foundations, the blood sugar, the cortisol, the inflammation, the gut health, the liver health, the nutrient status, then your symptoms are going to shift and your energy is going to come back and your body's going to start working with you and going, oh, no worries. We can do this. We can lose that weight. We can have beautiful skin. No worries. And then the next decade of your life will look completely different from the story you got told about perimenopause. And that is exactly why I created the free 5-day perimenopause challenge. Who's going to join me? It's a very focused deep dive on the exact drivers that I walked you through today, but more of this. And I give you a meal plan that's designed to help you start addressing your symptoms. Just a little sample meal plan that goes for 5 days, but you get all of the recipes and you can use it for life. And we talk about what's driving it. And we get the opportunity to start addressing the physiology. And this is totally free. My goodness, you guys, I give away so much for free. Don't ever come at me and say, I can't afford your program, so I can't get over my symptoms. Yes, you can, because I give away so much free stuff. Inside the challenge, we address the blood sugar instability and the chronically elevated cortisol, the dysregulated cortisol rhythms, and the anti-inflammatory aspects, and the nutrient stuff, and the sleep, and all of it. And places are limited, so I don't want this to feel like some mass produced thing and I just churn people through. I care deeply about the women who take part in my challenge. And we've had incredible results from women in my challenge who start losing the weight and losing the belly fat in just 5 days. It's extraordinary. Their sleep comes back and their energy comes back and they feel better already. This is why I deeply love running these free challenges. So if you want in, or if you want to at least know more details about what time the calls are, because we speak every day on Zoom, we meet together every day on Zoom. I know it sounds intense, but this is what women need so they can overcome their symptoms. I want you to comment challenge, and I'll send you everything you need to register and get your meal plan and join us next week. I do not want women carrying 15 symptoms with them every day of perimenopause. It's not necessary. I don't want women believing that we get to a point in our bodies just turn against us, because it's not the truth. Your body's actually just asking for something, support. Let's give your body the support it needs. Let's do it next week in the 5-day perimenopause challenge. I very much hope to see you there. Lots of people on the call right now have already joined.